All right, here we're going to continue our work on arithmetic sequences. These next couple of problems, we're still using that general form, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth, a little bit more complex problems. So number 15 we're going to start with. Determine the 25th term from this arithmetic sequence. Well, I could go ahead and just write out this arithmetic sequence, all of the terms up to the 25th term and count it, but I don't really want to do that because that would take a lot of time. So I'm going to go ahead and use the formula. I'm going to find the formula first, and then I'm going to use the formula to find the 25th term. So in order to write the formula, I'm just going to identify my first term, which is negative 40. My common difference, I'm going from negative 40 up to negative 10. That's a positive 30, and that pattern continues for each one. So now I'm going to write my formula. My nth term is my first term plus my common difference times n minus 1. All right, so that's my general formula. Now I want to find the 25th term, so I'm going to plug that in. My 25th term is going to equal my first term plus my common difference times 25 minus 1. And I'm going to use my calculator. So 24 times 30 minus 40 is 680. So my 25th term is 680. That was a little faster than going ahead and writing out all of the 25 terms. I'm going to let you do number 16, and I'm going to do number 17 with you because it is involving some square roots, and that might be, I don't know, maybe a little scary. So again, we're going to do the same thing. Here's my sequence. I don't want to list out all 15 terms that I need to find, so I'm going to find my general equation. I'm going to identify my first term, which is negative 19 times the square root of 6. And I'm going to find my common difference. Let's see. This is nice. All of my square roots are the same. How do I get from negative 19 to negative 15? Oh, well, it's being increased by 4 square root of 6. Negative 19 square root of 6 plus 4 square root of 6 is negative 15 square root of 6. Now, this is going to look funky, but it's still the exact same process. I'm going to write my general formula. So my nth term is going to be my first term plus my common difference times n minus 1. I want to find my 15th term. So my 15th term is going to be my first term plus my common difference. Okay. And I'll go ahead and do a little bit more work here so you can see that. I'm going to simplify times 14. And now I'm going to simplify this term. I'm going to multiply my wholes. 4 times 14 is 56. So this simplifies to be 56 root 6. And now these are like terms, so I'm going to keep my square root, just treating it's kind of like the same if this was negative 19x plus 56x. So I just add negative 19 and 56, and that is 37, and then square root of 6. So my 15th term is 37 square root of 6. Take a moment, pause this video, and do number 16. And then when you unpause it, I will give you the answer. You can check to make sure you're right. All right, hopefully you did number 16 and got some practice. The answer to the 32nd term is negative 74. Hopefully you got that right. All right, we're going to go on to number 18 here. Okay, what do we do here? For 21 through 24, how about we do 18? That's a mistake. Find the number of terms in each sequence if I'm given the first term, which is A, I'm given the last term, which I'm going to label Z, and I'm given the common difference of D. What does that mean? Hint, use the general equation, which I would have to find, and then plug in what you know to solve for n. Well, if I don't know where to start with this, I could just start crunching some numbers. And I know that I'm going to start, A is my start, and I know my common difference, each number is being increased by 2. So I could just crunch some numbers and start creating this sequence. I only have to go a certain number. So I could start with 5, and then I'm increasing by 2. So 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. I know I'm going to end at 25, so I'll just keep going until I reach 25. It's not too bad. Okay, so my start is 5, my end is 25, each number is being increased by 2. I want to find the number of terms in this. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 11 terms. So that wasn't too bad, but again, we want to solve this maybe a slightly more efficient way because there are going to be problems that are not this easy to work with. Let's go ahead and see if we can solve it using the formula method, because it will make other problems a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and write my general equation. So just in general, the equation is my first term plus my common difference. Okay, I'm going to plug in what I know. In this case, I actually know my nth term, because my nth term is going to be how many terms I have. In this case, I know it's 11, but I don't know it in this case. And that's going to be 25. So I'm going to plug in 25 for my last term. My first term I know is 5. My common difference is 2, but I don't know n. I don't know how many terms there are. So in this case, I know my last term, so I can plug that in, and that's slightly different than what we were doing before. Now we're just going to solve this, and we're going to solve for n. So what do I get? I'm going to subtract 5. I'm going to divide by 2. I'm going to add 1, and I get n equals 11, so 11 terms. So you see that we got the same answer. We could write it out, just crunch some numbers. If it's an easy fix, and that works, but sometimes this method will be a lot easier because just crunching the numbers would be way too time consuming. All right, so you are going to do numbers 19 and 20. You can see in this method it might not be so nice to go ahead and solve this just by crunching numbers. So pause this video, do numbers 19 through 20, and then when you unpause it, I'll give you the answers. All right, hopefully you had 6 terms here. There are 6 terms. And then in number 20, dealing with fractions, so many fun fractions. There actually were only 3 terms. All right, we're going to go on, going a little more in depth. There might be a little bit of writing in here. I might need to write small. Okay, these are definitely more complex questions that we're getting into. Here we go. The 8th and the 21st term of an arithmetic sequence are 56 and 121 respectively. Respectively just means they're in the same order. So the 56 is the 8th term, and 121 is the 21st term. Find the first 5 terms. Well, goodness gracious, I don't know my first term. I don't know the common difference. And in order to, it would be really easy if I found my first term and my common difference. I could either just list out the terms, or I could find the equation, but I don't know my first term or my common difference. How would I get there? Well, I'm going to just start by writing out what I know. I know my 8th term is 56, and I know my 21st term is 121. Could I find the total difference between these two? Because if I were to write this out kind of funky, I'm just going to write this out on a sticky note because I don't have room to write it out here. I would have my first term, my second term, my third term, my fourth term, my 5th term, 6th term, 7th term, 8th term is 56. And then I have my 9th term going on, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, blah, 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 blah. My 21st term is 121. Could I find the common difference between all of these numbers here. And could I use that? I think I could. So my total difference between my 8th and my 21st term is simply the difference between them, 121 minus 56, and that is 65. So there's 65 steps or so between my 8th and my 21st term. Okay, could I use that to figure out anything? Well, how many terms are there in between my 8th and my 21st term? That's just going to be my number of terms. Well, that's just 21 minus 8. There are 13 terms. So between my 8th term and my, over here, my little sticky note, between my 8th term and my 21st term, there are 13 terms. And each of these 13 terms have a total difference of 65. Could I find the difference between each of the steps? Oh, well, so that's going to give me D. My difference between each of the terms is going to be my total difference divided by the number of terms. And the total difference was 65 in between my 8th and 21st term. And there are 13 terms between 8th and 21st term. 65 divided by 13 is 5. I have my difference. My common difference is 5. Whew, I feel like I've accomplished something. Well, let's see. How could I use this to figure out what my first term is? Because that's really what I want to do. I could just kind of crunch some numbers. I could list it out. Here's my 8th term, and I could go backwards. So if my common difference is 5, this would be technically, if I'm going backwards, subtracting, so this would be 51, and this would be 46, whatever. And I could go backwards to find each one, and that would work. But let's go ahead and see if we can do this using our formula, because other terms might not be so nice to do that. So I'm going to write out my general formula. So there it is in general. Now I'm going to plug in what I know. I know D is 5. I don't know A. Oh, but I do have two of these terms that I do know. I do know the 8th term, and I know the 21st term that I could plug in for n and a to the n. I'm going to go ahead and use this one because it's smaller numbers, and you know, I like smaller numbers. So I'm going to say my 8th term is 56. And that's going to equal my first term, which I don't know, plus my common difference, which I do know is 5. And I'm figuring out the 8th term, so n is 8 minus 1. So a to the n is my 8th term, which I know is 56. My first term I don't know, my common difference I do. N is 8 because I'm figuring out my 8th term. So here I only have one variable that I need to solve for. We can do this. This is 5 times 7, which is 35. And I'm going to subtract, and I get A is 21. Yay! So my first term is 21. My common difference is 5. I'm not quite done, but I'm almost there. I just need to find my first 5. So I'll kind of do this over here. My first one is 21. Then 21 plus 5 is 26. Plus 5 is 31. Plus 5 is 36. Plus 5 is 41. And that's going to continue on. But I just needed to find my first 5. So these ones, so 21 and 22 are pretty much the same thing as the example. It's pretty involved, but again, just write out what you know and go, okay, what can I do from here? How could I figure this out from here? So go ahead and work on 21 and 22, and then pause the video, and I will write the answers in a moment so you can check your work. All right, those are the first 5 terms for this one. Notice I did simplify each term. So if you had slightly different answers, just check to see if they weren't simplified. This one was pretty complex just because of the simpling, because of the simpling. And the answer to number 22. There you go. So if you had issues with 21 or 22, don't worry. We'll do more of those with AAPS, but I did want you to at least see them. These are definitely more complicated problems. So for arithmetic sequence, if you're doing pretty good on that first section, just can you find the general formula and use the general formula? That's good. And then this second video is taking that and doing some more complex problems, kind of like level 4 type problems.